Welcome to Mystery Miners Ghost Edition. I'm your host Theo. Today we got a Valentine's Day special. We're going to be talking about the urban legend of the Hookman. So my spooky friends, sit back, relax, go grab a nice cup of tea, and let's get ready to get scared. Viola got home from a busy day of work. After all, it was Valentine's Day, so it was a hectic day for her at the restaurant. She also had a special occasion for tonight with her boyfriend, Ted. As soon as she took off her sneakers, she'll receive a text from him, and the text read,
Hey honey, I'm on my way. I can't wait to see you soon.
Viola started to panic. She was not even close to being ready. She quickly got undressed, ran to the shower room, and almost knocked over her big sister on the way. After she took a much-needed warm shower, Viola rushed into her bedroom and tried to find the perfect dress for a beautiful night out with Ted. And she was successful. She managed to find a little black dress with a nice, sleek cardigan over it. She was finally ready. Suddenly, her big sister called from downstairs. Hey V, guess who's here? You better come down quick. Viola let out a small giggle and her face was so red from blushing. She knew who was waiting for her downstairs. She heard Ted said,
I'm here, hurry up.
Ted was dressed in a nice white shirt. He was holding a bouquet of roses in one hand and a giant teddy bear in the other. Viola dashed downstairs and leaped into him, hugging him tightly. Viola's sister rolled her eyes so hard. She groaned and said, You guys are so gross! Ew! Just leave for your stupid date already. Viola laughed, took the teddy bear, and shoved it into her sister's face, saying, You're just jealous that you're single on Valentine's Day. Here, take this bear to keep you company for the rest of the night. After the siblings bickered for a while, Ted spoke up and said,
Alright, you guys. We are already late for our dinner reservation. It's a long way. Come on, let's go.
Viola and Ted finally left home. Love was in the air tonight. Viola was feeling warm and safe as she held Ted's hand. Ted opened the car door for Viola, and Ted and Viola are now set out for a nice night out of town to try out the new restaurant that everyone has been raving about. Halfway through the trip, Ted drove over some kind of a sharp object on the road. For a while, he ignored it. Until the tires started hissing loudly. The car was slowing down and the ride started to become bumpy. Eventually, Ted had to pull over to check the tires. He got out of the car, kicked the tires, checked them, and yeah, the car tires were damaged quite badly.
Oh, not this again. I don't have a spare tire anymore. Oh no, this night is ruined.
He went over to Viola's side of the car and tapped on her window so she could roll it down. He explained the situation to her. Ted said,
I'm sorry, baby. But hey, no worries, look. I'm going to call my Uncle Bob. He lives in this area. He would definitely help us out.
Viola frowned and said, The signal isn't that great here. I think we have to walk a bit further down the road to call him.
Yeah, you're right. Look, I will walk down the road a bit to get a signal and call him. Just to lock the doors and I will be right back, okay?
Viola, at this point, accepted the fate of the situation. She responded, All right, just hurry up, okay? It's cold and it's scary out here and I'm hungry. Ted nodded, gave her a kiss, and walked down the road to get the signal. Viola rolled up her windows to avoid the cold night air. She could not help it as his shadow disappeared from her sight. Something felt off, but she shook it off and turned on the radio to entertain herself for a while. Meanwhile, Ted was still trying to find a signal. He was already in a bitter mood.
Why is this happening to me?
Ted was violently shaking his phone around in the air in frustration.
Come on, work.
But Ted stopped what he was doing because he saw something move between the trees.
Viola, is that you? Stop playing around.
But it was not Viola. 20 minutes have passed and Viola is now worried. Where is Ted? She tried to call him, but there was no signal. As soon as she was ready to get out of the car and look for Ted, she suddenly heard a scraping noise from the side of the car. She froze in fear. She could have sworn she also saw a shadow. Then the tapping and the screeching noises started to come closer and closer to her side of the car. Then all of a sudden, the music over the radio cuts out, and it was replaced by a strange alarm sound, followed by a news report stating,
We interrupt this program with an urgent message. We're just been informed that an unnamed patient who is likely to be very dangerous has escaped from the mental health center and was sighted within the city's limits. We have been informed that the escaped patient in question was being held for the strange or grisly murders. He is considered to be highly dangerous. He uses a prosthetic hook to cut open his victims while they are alive. It is advised that all community members remain in their homes. Please make sure all your doors and windows are securely locked until the officers have the situation under control. Please stay safe out there.
After a brief moment of static, the music started back up, and Viola was now profusely sweating because the scraping noises from the exterior of the car got louder. Viola switched off the radio, then almost within seconds, the car's roof thumped so loudly and the car jerked violently. Viola screamed because blood started to rush down from the car roof. She quickly got out of the car and started to scream more loudly, and she was sobbing because what she saw was something that will forever be embedded in her nightmares. Viola looked at the roof of the car. There sat a man in a dark coat. He was wearing a patient's gown underneath it. His smile was cold and heartless. However, that is not what caught Viola's attention. The man was holding Ted's severed head. He cut off Ted's head with a hook in another arm, and Ted's head in the other. His prosthetic hook was drenched in Ted's blood. Ted's face was struck with extreme anguish. The last few minutes of his life on Earth were spent in extreme pain, and it showed clearly on his face. A piece of cloth was shoved into Ted's mouth so that his screams would not be heard. The Hook, or the Hookman, is an urban legend about a killer with a pirate-like hook for a hand attacking a couple in a parked car. In many versions of the story, the killer is typically portrayed as a faceless, silhouetted old man wearing a raincoat and rain hat that conceals most of his features, especially his face. The origins of the Hook legend are not entirely known, though according to folklorist and historian Jan Harold Bronvand, the story began to circulate sometime in the 1950s in the United States. It has since become a morality archetype in popular culture and has been referenced in various horror films. The urban legend has been most reflected in slasher films. For example, I Know What You Did Last Summer from 1997, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillip, and Freddie Prinze Jr. The film features a killer stalking teenagers with a hook. At the beginning of the film, the central characters recount the Hook legend around a campfire. Thank you so much for tuning in into today's episode of Mystery Miners Ghost Edition Valentine Day Special. Make sure you catch us next week for another scary story on MI Radio.